Let's go ahead. A bit about me. I am an AFL who wants to spend more time building than organizing. I make my 3 boys share a room so I can have a Lego space. It has to double as a guest room as well, so we have the Murphy bed for the win. I store large mocks in my bedroom on wire storage racks because there's no other room. I would rather spend my budget on bricks and not storage. Is excited to reuse things, has made custom storage bins, and my collection is in approximately 884 different bin sections or containers because we just expand. So getting things, I kind of broke things into areas of storage. We have budget areas, we have available space in the build area, systems of organization, what is the size of the collection and what is our storage needs, specialty storage, mock storage. I mean, I don't know about you, but I keep mocks for multiple shows, and so then you come back from BrickCon and you have to put these boxes somewhere. And then auxiliary storages and the overflow of okay, I have 5,000 of this piece, they need to go somewhere else. All right, so I started this presentation also by putting a message out on the Facebook group for BrickCon for anybody who wanted to send me photos, because I wanted this to be more than just my pictures of my storage and how I do it. It's a roundtable. I'd like to hear how you guys do it. So a little bit different, like when we do have some questions, if someone has an answer to the question, they can come up and talk about their answer to the question as well. Because it shouldn't just be my answer. It should be everybody's answer. All right. So jumping into systems, we have labels. How do we determine what goes where? How do you group things? What are the interesting resources? A friend of mine sent me this resource, the brickroomblog.com, which highlights 24 builders and their storage spaces all across, I think they're all Australian builders, but it's definitely an interesting older blog because it goes through each builder and how they have storage things. A little bit about my system. So this is a picture of some of my acromills that are on the wall and kind of a grid of how it's laid out. So I kind of go with columns of color where everything is in a column is the same color. And then let's see, I got a pointer, don't I? Yes. So columns of color and then rows being the parts. So like this one, the top row is all my 1x8 tiles. The next row is all my 1x6 tiles. And so I can very easily, if I'm looking for a tile, I know where all my tiles are because they're very organized. They're one of the more organized parts and things. The picture also here shows the side, which is French cleats, which means I can take my acromills and just pick them up and pull them off the wall, which has been a really fun thing for me. A little bit more about my system. This is my bulk of my Lego storage. And again, I have these washi tape containers in here because they each give me 9 little sections and they fit between my Trofast and my acromills. My Trofast trays here, this shows you that I have 3D printed, or my husband has really, 3D printed bins to fit in the Trofast to actually make Trofast usable because I didn't want to buy a new system, but really they're better for kids in my opinion. I don't know about yours. And then again, I have the same columns of color and then by parts, so small brick, brick modified, small plate, large plate, base plate across. So everything's kind of organized, at least in my system, so I can find things. The acromills goes into sections of different plate style things. So looking at next slide, Expanding systems. So this are some photos courtesy of Dawn. I'm going to mispronounce her name. And this is what she wrote about her system. She started with a couple shelves and a few sterilite drawers, units and plastic shoeboxes, photo storage clamshells from a craft store, and now has 50 medium sterilite drawers, 33 drawer units, 12 shelving units, 12 acromills things, various easy store dividers, and most were bought at a great sales price and may need more soon. So our systems are expanding, and this is just more of her photos that she sent me. So it's kind of nice to see what everybody else's things actually look like. So setups. So this was another photo that I got courtesy of Fred Westfield. What I liked was multiple sizes of small part bins. He had mobile storage, and large bins are all shallow. I don't know about you, but shallow is best, yes? Okay. This was one of my favorite systems I saw, and this is courtesy of Kat Harmon. So her and Sam did this entire Lego system where they built on their walls out of like 2x4s and actually constructed lots of thin little shelves. So the shelves are 2 feet deep with plywood shelves and efficient to cut from 4x8 sheets. And then so the bins are foam board, gray board boxes, and they 2 inches deep to hold parts. And the beautiful thing with that is they make all of their own bins. So they are custom. If a piece part overgrows a bin, they can make a new bin that is bigger. The small parts live in flat files. Other parts are by sort type. Functional parts are sorted by type, not color. Hot glue gun, cutting mat, painter's tape are the things that are needed to have this great customizable things. So does anybody have any systems that they have really loved? Okay. I can continue. I have more photos. So the next section I have is labels. So an older pic had since expanded. Monica Ennis sent me this, likes the iris and acromills builds best, the iris photo containers for certain things and tackle boxes for certain things. She also, and many others have recommended Tom Afflin's site, thebrickarchitect.com, for labels. Does anybody not know about Tom's labels? I don't think so. Okay, but it's a wonderful website. Even I've looked at his web. I didn't use his labels, but I used his website as a reference to make my own labels and for what I needed. Collection size. So collection size is one of those things that I always tell people that can dictate your level of sorting and your level of storage. I mean, if you have a kid who has 20,000 Legos, it's different from an AFOL that has 200,000 Legos. Sorting by part and color requires more space. And then a Lego-related business, like if you have your own bricklink store, or if you do commercial work, might also require a higher amount of organization. This was a great picture because it was a large collection, multiple builders. So they have a build room and a storage room. And so these are photos courtesy of Brandon and Owen Jones. So they have a system, which is a mix of different size bins, small, medium, and large bins, depending on the quantity in the collection. Each bin holds one part or various parts of a common category. And when multiple parts are in the same bin, they are separated by Ziploc bags. So this is also something I feel like we all do, is take our bins and separate them. A few more pictures. So flats, for flats, small parts, jewelry bins are flats that have adjustable size compartments, 4 rows or 10 slots per row. When a slot is too full, they mark it with a red dot sticker and place the extra pieces in a Ziploc bag in the larger red dot bins as overflow. So they have an actual way of labeling what bins have more places in a different location. Bulk. When acquiring large parts in bulk, drafts, etc., they usually don't fit into a standard storage system. Where to put 3,500 2x4 bricks in light bluish gray. So separate sets of large and extra large bins to hold bulk lots. The storage system is living. It evolves. Time aside every year to evaluate their storage system and the bin capacity, the functionality of the system, so it can change and adapt to the working, to keep it working. Anyone have any questions at any point? Okay. All right, I will just continue. So, professional setup. This was a photo courtesy of Dan Parker. It represents a section of his studio, commercial builds, more brick, bigger containers. We're talking about specialty storages. So like we might also have storage if we have a collection of vintage Lego, minifigures, elements by theme, creatures, train, repair kits. Like, I mean, I know the train guys, they have pre-assembled parts that they store for shows. So there's a lot of specialty needs. I was talking to a friend who was telling me about her storage for minifigures, that they had these clear cases where you could pull out the case and each minifigure had its compartment and they could see every minifigure just by looking at it. So minifigures could have their own special storage so they don't get scratched, damaged, etc. So portable storage. Who has one of these? These are some of the budget options for, it also shows some of my budget options. These little slots have brownie pans that I got at the Dollar Tree as trays. I use the bead box for rare parts. Again, this is something that you get when Michael's has a good sale. The tool case I like to use for drafts. I like to use for repair kits at things. I actually pulled mine out this weekend as for trading parts, and you take it from table to table. This is one of my favorite things, is having the portable toolkits. My suggestion, though, if you're shopping for one, is you put some 1x1 tiles in there, and then you take the whole thing and you flip it upside down. And a good case, they won't come out of their little bins and separate if the case is dropped. So budget options. So looking at budget, we want to talk about things that fit your space and your wallet. Dollar deals. If you have a higher budget, you might have more uniformity. So DIY, paper trays, 3D printing could be budget options, although you might want to price your filament for 3D printing and time and whatever. And also just recycling packaging. I mean, I don't know who else uses lunch meat containers to store Legos. Yeah, okay, there's a few. And just looking at things like, okay. And who may use the old advent calendar to store Legos? So this is another photo I got. So it's thrifted. So these are units that are from Michelle Wilcox. Units thrifted for $5 or less. The drawer units were a decent price online when bought as a set. So instead of buying one drawer unit, they bought multiple. Some other budget-friendly options. Deneen sent me her crystal light containers. I love that. I found this little case that I have my pirate figure stuff in, my pirate skeleton figures in there. at the dollar store. So I am a big fan of just going to like Dollar Tree and looking around and seeing what they have. And then my husband built me these little slots in a bookshelf. And these are IKEA silverware trays. That is my bin of fencing. And you just pull out the tray and everything's there. All right. So those are some budget-friendly options. Does anybody else have budget-friendly options they want to share? Oh, come on up to the mic.
If you buy large snack containers, they usually come in these large plastic tubs with like a top that can screw on. So when I'm done with those, I just clean them out, and that's good for bulk parts.
Okay. So things like the red vines from Costco, or the animal crackers from Costco, where they have the screw-on lids, and orange balls. Cheese puffs.
I've got a couple from online here. We've got one person that says Talenti ice cream containers, Ziploc baggies, and used PAB plastic containers.
Okay. I actually saw online someone who had built a rack, a wall-mounted rack for the old PAB containers, when you had just a wall of PAB containers. So I think that's one thing I found with talking to people about Lego storage, is that we are all very resourceful. Next, when we have, available space. Something I mentioned was wall mounting. I think wall mounting is one of those things that can really conserve space. Mobile storage, being able to pull a storage bin maybe from another room, and being able to pull out, a bin of storage that might be just the parts in this color scheme. Built in, I feel like, when you build something into the wall, you got a kind of a sense of permanence, but you also can be more efficient with your space. And then for me, a lot of it has been shopping based on dimensions. So going on to all the websites, searching up storage, but also knowing, okay, I have a spot this big, what can fit in there? And that's how I even came on with the washi tape organizers, which was a really odd thing to use for Lego storage, but they fit in that space. And then we have auxiliary things. How many of you have a second space for storage? How many maybe even rent a storage unit? A few people. High storage for less used parts. I've seen Lego rooms where they will have shelves above the door with shoebox bins of extra bulk parts, and will use the whole height of the room all the way up to the ceiling. The other thing, under the bed. That is a place that might be a good auxiliary storage. A lot of my mock bases have ended up living under my bed for a good period of time. So mock storage. For those of you who store their mocks, how do you store your mocks? Anyone want to share? Other than I keep mine in my bedroom, but is there anybody who wants to share?
There's a comment online. I used to store things everywhere around the house, but now I've got everything in one room and it's less stressful. From Lajana Baya.
So another question for me is how long to keep mocks, and that's something I struggle with. I don't know about you, but how long do you keep a mock together? And if, at least in my case, in some cases, if they're a super big one, it's what is their lifespan? Is it 2 shows? Is it 3 shows? Is it, I will keep it forever? Anyone want to share?
I'll share.
Okay.
So I found a really good Hefty is the brand name of it, but it's a plastic container, has a really deep lid, and what I like about it, really deep in the bottom, and then you don't have to worry about making sure that it's right at the top of the bin, because the bin has a lifted lid on it. And it's a Hefty brand. I think I got it at Walmart. They're not too expensive, but they do come in varying sizes all the way up to, I don't remember how big it was, but it's huge. And not having to worry about that space at the top of the bin. I know the Costco ones that I've had, I have to go 2 inches down under the bin because the lid insets instead of goes over. It's
Over
something to-
sets, no insets. Got it.
Right, and that really made a big difference in how I store my old mocks, because I can break them down into those sizes, and then I don't need to get them really flat.
So we did the same thing that you did and threw the children in one room. But then they got tired of that, and so we had to be creative with space, and so we ended up needing more high-capacity storage for mocks and sets, and so we came up with is we built custom shelving that was 30 inches by 30 inches, which is 9 base plates, and then with 7-inch shelf, 7-inch shelf, 9-inch shelf, 11-inch shelf underneath, and then that allows us to put bigger stuff on top and give us massive amounts of storage. And then we put roller rolls that go, I forget what they're called, in every direction. Omnidirectional balls, yeah. I'm not an engineer. And so that allows us to move those modules however we need to. So if we want to combine them to build a bigger city or put, larger pieces of mocks together.
Well, it's not for my mocks. I am a big fan of the modulars. And I have found that the 12 by 12 Target cubby units are perfect for the modulars because it just fits right down in the little basket and you just slide it in there. And that way, I don't like to take those apart and rebuild them, but I use them often. So I want to keep them together. So that's been a good one for that.
Hey, thanks.
One thing I find is you get the big container box and you get clear garbage bags and you put each mock in a clear garbage bag and then put them in the big container. That way something breaks off, you know what it belongs to.
Oh, very nice.
One more from online here. I purchased Uline 16 by 16 by 10 cardboard boxes to store mocks. Fits a 48 by 48 base plate with some room to spare. From PT McEwen.
For my apartment, I have a lot of sliding doors for my closets. And by removing those sliding doors, I was able to fit more storage or like bigger pieces of furniture like bookcases, which gave me a lot more organization space.
And so, yes, we have another comment.
He just reminded me. So what I have done in my Lego guest room is I've also removed the sliding doors. And then I went to Costco and bought the metal racks where you can put wheels on and only put half the shelves on. And now I have 3 metal racks that stick out of the closet that I can just pull out, grab what I want, push it back in, kind of like library things. So it's utilizing the space really excellent as I just would pull out shelves.
So you just reminded me of my dream idea for storage, which would be to have basically a 2-foot by 4-foot cart on wheels with a wall panel in the thing, so you could put storage units on either side of the wall panel and then just slide the multiple units in there and have all these mobile massive storage units. It's something I've talked about with my husband, but we haven't implemented, but you reminded me of that.
Well, I'm going to go the other way. So I had a lot of Lego in a lot of grocery bags, and I needed to make a lot of room. So I had some cardboard flats about this big square. And so I just made a bunch of rows and columns of grocery bags with cardboard flats on them overlapped so that they wouldn't tip. And then because Lego isn't very heavy, that is, it's not very dense, let's put it that way. Then you just put more grocery bags on top of the flats and then another layer of flats. And I think I'm on the 3rd layer now. Now, of course, that's really bad because I don't remember what's in there. But it got me a lot of room to work on the rest of the place.
Treasure hunt later.
Yes.
So my room got added onto my house in the 70s, not the best decade for that. But there's this pretty wide gap where my room is. And so I went to Home Depot and got one of their hidden door kits where the hinges are really strong. And so I built the hidden door and normal people, I guess, put books on it, but it fits the little Acro Mills tilt view bins, the little tiny ones, and those are perfect for like dots and other things. So now I open the door and it just looks like a closet of Lego stuff. And like for other people, I'm like, yes, it's just a closet. But then you open it and it's my bedroom. So.
So, I mean, how long to keep mucks? Do we rent a storage space? How about sets? How about your backlog? Who has a backlog? Lots of people have. Okay, I might be the weird one who doesn't have a backlog. Okay, but yeah, how do you like? I've seen people's Lego rooms where like the backlog has like boxes of mucks set on boxes of sets that they haven't got to. And so what do you guys do about sets in your backlog to help store those? Any fun solutions? Anybody?
So my backlog is pretty ridiculous right now. I currently have, the IKEA Billy bookcases. I have 2 of them in my front room, and I literally can't see the bookcases because they are all stacked on top of each other. One thing I have learned through experience is that you need to figure out the proper way to store, because if you put too much weight and they're not sized properly, so if they're top out, you're going to start smushing boxes. So you got to put them on the narrow side and have a few of them and kind of Jenga it a little bit so they don't start smushing boxes as you stack them that high.
I had a couple of thoughts related to both backlog and sort of thinking about the fact that many of us live in the Pacific Northwest, and it's a really, really expensive place to live, and housing is expensive. Every square foot of your house or apartment has value. And when it comes to backlog, I think it's really important to remember, at least for now, Lego is really good for resale. And if you haven't built it for several years, there's no shame in selling it and buying something you're more excited about. And like you're paying money in terms of square footage of your house to hold shit you might never build. So like think about getting rid of it. And along the same lines, when it comes to storing your bulk, your bricks, bins and stuff are awesome for convenience, but like there's this concept, it's a little hard to articulate, but I'll just do the best I can, of storage density or storage efficiency. And when you have all those Acro Mill bins, but each one of them is only a third full, you're storing 2/3 air. And Ziploc bags are exceptionally efficient because you can squeeze the air out of them, stack them in bins, fill that bin all the way up. So all of this is to just say, think about storage efficiency and think about things you can get rid of so that you can avoid getting a storage unit. I mean, I do have a storage unit, but anything you could do, anything you could do to reduce things you don't need so you can focus on the things you really love is my meta point. I hope that's helpful.
Well, to feed off of that, this is what I actually tell people. Like a lot of times, it's like curate your collection. Like I do not build in pink bricks. I use pink bricks as slough bricks. I have a friend who builds in pink bricks. So, okay, let's arrange a trade. Like you give me your boring earth tones, thank you, and I will give you all my bright pink bricks. And like I was blessed by a friend who gave me this big bin of their old Legos, and I looked at it and I was like most of you would be. It was 70% Classic Space, 20% Fabuland, and 10% something else. And I am a little young for Fabuland. Like it came out before, it was a little bit before my time. But I was able to trade the Fabuland figures for the roof tiles, for the thing. So again, it comes down to the thing, like, if it's not something that you love and treasure, there are so many people in the Lego community who will happily love and treasure something, and also be able to maybe reciprocate with something in return. All right, who was first? I don't know.
She was first, but I just wanted to plus one what Tom said about bags. My whole collection is in bags. It's so storage dense. Some tips: get freezer bags because they're thicker and the Lego will not puncture them. And get slider bags and enjoy. They're so cheap.
I am, in terms of storing backlog, the boxes do take up so much space. There's air, right? A lot of air in there. So, and I do have kids that are still at home building Lego. So I take the stuff out of box, and Daiso, the Japanese dollar store, they sell these semi-transparent bags, and they also have a separate zipper pocket. So I can put the instruction book in the zipper pocket and all the bags of the pieces in the bag. And now I've got a kit for me or my kids to make when they're ready, and it takes up half the size of a box.
Nice.
I don't keep the boxes. There's very few boxes I keep. Like, I like ideas, so I keep those boxes, but I still tend to put the pieces in a bag and I flatten the box. I'm not a collector. I don't save sealed boxes. I buy Lego to build. I just have to touch the Lego. I can't just not have a set and not open it. I also, I don't have a Lego space or room, but we have an IKEA storage bench, and all my Lego is in those Costco peanut butter pretzel containers. And they fit really nicely in there, and they're all full.
This may be similar what your fantasy was. For my backlog, I have those Metro shelves, those wire shelves, and they come in different heights and depths, and I put wheels on the bottom, and so I actually just kind of have them all rolled into a corner of my basement with the shelves. I can adjust them to size and just have the sets on end. And I got the little plastic shelf liners so that I don't kind of scrape the boxes as they go on and off.
So my last question that I have is, how do you store your bilk to? Okay, first of all, who has bilk to sort at a later date? A couple of you, more than a couple of you. But how do you store that? How do we and how much is too much? I don't know if that's a wise question, but what do we do with the bulk to sort at a later date? Anyone want to share what they do with their bulk?
So my process is that when I unbuild something, I separate it into 6 categories: bricks, plates, Technic related, minifig related, tires for some reason, I don't know why, just their own tires thing, and printed pieces. And then I take when I get a bunch of bricks and plates, I then go through a sorter. I bought a brick sorter device with different grades to separate it into 4 different grades. So little itty bitty ones, mediums, large, and then I just sort from there.
I was going to add very similarly that it's really helpful if you have a set of labeled bins, ideally ones that can nest on top of each other, like kind of stack on top of each other, so that you can, at any time that you have a little bit of time, spread them out on the table and do the first stage of your sorting from loose to broad categories. And then I can take those bins, I don't have to put them all the way into their final destination right away. I can just stack them up, tuck them away in the corner. And it means that if I need a hypothetically 1x1 snot brick in dark orange because I forgot to bring it to BrickCon and my model needs it, and I can't find it in my regular drawers, I have the ability to go to the bin of half sorted, I guess you would call it. It's like a bin of snot. And I can dig through there, and I happen to have the piece I needed. So you almost end up with like this staged sorting strategy, and you're lowering the barrier for sorting. Because if you just see a 5-gallon Home Depot bucket of unsorted brick, that's daunting. But if instead you have some half sorted, it's a little easier to get going. So try to reduce the friction to sort.
Also, to add to the intimidating large bin of unsorted bricks, a lot of my Lego is secondhand, and I like to wash them And by washing them in small batches, it breaks it down and is more manageable. And so it's in steps of washing them, then drying. And then once they're dry, I will wash the other set and leave those to dry. And the dry ones I will then organize. And it just feels much more manageable.
Okay. So this is my last slide. If there's,
I'm gonna slide one
we got
online.
one more comment.
Yes. Monica has one that I don't think I can say on mic, but LaJana has one that says bulk for later date generally goes into gallon-sized Ziploc bags for later.
Okay. I like the idea of gallon-sized bags too. Like if you got this giant bag of bulk and you put it in a gallon-sized thing, again, you're taking it and you're keeping your density small, but you're also giving yourself a manageable amount to go through and not the 40-gallon tub that we've all tackled at one point. So that's all I have. If there's any other questions, comments, things you want to share, this is a roundtable. I think we have a few more minutes. Yeah. So anything else? Diane? Okay.
So I think somebody mentioned liking those metal shelving. I really love those. So I've got like floor to ceiling or floor to like 6 feet tall or whatever, those metal shelves all along one really big wall. And so that backlog boxes, those are up high because like you want the accessible stuff that you need to get to really fast to be sort of like at your easiest to access height, and then putting all of those things up high, like on top of 6-foot shelves works for me if they're unbuilt sets. And then I love Tom's idea of not storing air. That's helped me tremendously. But I find that for the really little stuff, I want to have that really easily accessible. And so I love like the little, from Michael's, maybe those, the bead storage with the rounded bottom so you can scoop things out. So like really tiny architectural elements or really tiny little plant parts or things like that. Sometimes I'll keep those in bead containers. And then there's also fishing lure containers that are not that expensive from Walmart. And so I like those for the a little bit bigger things. Anything that's bigger than like 1 by 2, it's in the baggies in bins. But the really tiny stuff, I just find it more accessible to have in like bins with like movable dividers, or that I can just get to like a whole bunch of them at the same time. By the way, I have a question. Did you all talk about, I missed the beginning, did you talk about like parts versus colors sorting? Did you guys...
I was kind of focusing on storage this year, so because that is a whole other. We could have an hour-long debate on that. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I was kind of curious. How do you manage like brainstorming and ideation when everything's sorted out and not like in front of you?
So for me, like I don't necessarily. I'm more of a category. I have more broad categories, and so like I have like ideas of things to build, and so like pulling out, if I'm building a rock wall, I'm pulling out the dark gray slopes, but my dark gray slopes are all mixed in together, so it's very organic for me. I know other people would probably have different things, but that's I kind of like similar parts put together, like all my plant parts are together, and all my arches are together, all my windows are together. And
so I understand that those that are BrickLink or BrickOwl or whatever sellers would tend to be down all the way to the part and color combination, which I'm not there yet, may never be. But I'm wondering, are the people that are typically selling on BrickLink also builders themselves, or are they only doing the BrickLink sales? Because if you're building with your parts and you also have parts for sale, how are you keeping track of what's what? And do you like purchase parts from yourself if you're going to build with them?
I can't answer that one. So if there's anybody who has both, had to have both, I think you might have to find someone who does both.
I do both, and I have been known to purchase parts for myself. But in general, I try and keep the stuff that's for sale totally separate from my building supply. So it's like, what sort of things am I in the mood to build? You know, after this BrickCon, I feel very in the mood to go home and build some flowery things. So now when flower stuff comes up, I'm not going to put it up for sale. I'm going to keep it in my building stash, and things that are, you know, all the blacks and grays that I'm not really into right now, that all gets put up for sale, because it can be very complicated to start buying stuff from yourself, and then somebody buys something and you're like, oh, but that's right in the middle of the mock that I was just building. Dang it.
So, I don't know how you guys keep your minifig heads together, but you know, generally it's kind of similar to like one bow and tile prints or whatever, where it's really annoying when they're always upside down. You have to figure out what is that print exactly. Sometimes it's like, so I found something that's nice with minifig heads, at least, is a while back I got 2x8 plates in, I mean, the colors don't matter, but I have them in red and tan. From the Pick-a-Brick while back, and you can fit, you know, 8 heads if you stagger them diagonally. So like the front left stud, back second stud, front third stud, etc., etc. You can fit 8 going that way, and then you can just stack those, and so that way you have all the faces facing forward. And the reason I mentioned I had 2 colors is because, you know, there's double-sided faces or double printed faces. So I use, of course, I don't remember now, but I use red for one and then the tan for the other. So that way I can tell. It's like, okay, these are all my double-sided faces. These are all my single-sided faces. And, you know, I don't have to, like, dig through them and, like, okay, is that the face I want? Nope, toss it back in. Is that the face I want? Toss it back in. So that makes that a lot faster, I've noticed. So, yeah.
Okay.
We have one more from online here before you close. Leah says, I like the iris photo and craft containers for plant parts. I think having what you build a lot of in very accessible storage can help and be a good focus on where to spend money.
Okay.
I wanted to throw out a different minifig head idea. So I've done them on the long plates like that, but somebody showed me stacking the heads like in a column, which I thought was brilliant. And so I have them in these like little columns or stacks by facial expression and gender and things like that. So I've got like the smiling kids heads, or the terrified male heads, or the, you know, this kind of, or the really angry heads, or the, you know, so they're all, it's easier for me, like if I got a whole stack of a certain kind of emotion, like if I'm trying to tell a story in a mock, you know, to kind of see, okay, here's all my angry faces, you know, or here's all my happy faces or whatever. It helps me when I'm storytelling with mocks.
I think we have time for one last comment, and then we are out of time.
Okay, so there's a company that actually makes your dream of the pull-out shelves from mocks. I teach band as part of my day job, and there's a company that sells very well-built but very overpriced furniture. And so if you have a large budget and you want pre-made build shelves, they're $2,500 each for your marks. They're very heavy and very nice, but they're 16 inches deep and 4 feet that way. So.
Very nice. All right. Start saving up. I need a bigger house. Okay. All right. And so this concludes it. And thank you all for showing up. And continue to share our ideas about storage and sorting and just how the logistics of this hobby work for everybody. Because we all have really great ideas that we can take from each other. All right. Thank you so much.